It is no hidden fact that industry across the globe is facing unprecedented times, and MSMEs are the worst hit by this pandemic. We all know that MSME sector has been the steering force of the country's economy. It is also well known fact that the MSMEs work in very thin margins to remain competitive and sustainable in the market, and hence the nationwide lockdown has badly hit their business sustainability, and they're struggling for survival due to lack of cash flow to meet their fixed costs like salaries, utility costs, EMI, etc. FICCI CMSME have been proactive in approach towards this crisis, and has been submitting suggestions and recommendations to the government, including state governments. Besides, we have been disseminating critical information about COVID and related measures announced by the government to a large number of MSMEs, including non-members. It has helped MSMEs to stay updated in terms of latest announcements by the government. Uh, Government has taken various steps for protection of MSMEs from the impact of coronavirus. If you all know, or you must have heard, RBI has announced measures like moratorium on term loans, deferment of interest on working capital facilities, easing of working capital financing, refinancing facility for all financial institutions, including 15,000 crore for SIDBI has been given, realization and repatriation of export proceeds, and measures for standstill asset classification. Besides, various banks, including SIDBI and private players, have come out with COVID credit lines for MSMEs. To further ease the working capital for MSMEs, government has also announced release of income tax refund up to 5 lakh and GST and customs refund. The announcement of PF contribution by the government will give a relief to MSMEs from financial burden. Various other reliefs and tax compliance have also been announced. Having said that, the fact remains that MSME do not have enough funds to carry out operations along with fixed costs. FICCI believes that there is an urgent need for package for MSME. FICCI has requested the government for significant stimulus of INR 9 to 10 lakh crores, which is 4 to 5% of country's GDP. This money can be injected for relief and rehabilitation across all levels of the economy, including people at the bottom of the pyramid, informal workers, micro, small, medium enterprise, and even some cases large corporates. We have also suggested to the government that they should come out with interest-free and collateral-free loans, which to be given to MSME companies who have turnover less than 500 crores for a period of up to 12 months, depending on the sector, to enable them to cover fixed costs. Salaries and other operational costs. For non-GST companies, an alternate mechanism may be worked out, which would be based on IT filing. Now, FICCI has also worked out, that math in terms of what we are suggesting to the government is that that even if the government spend rupees 1 lakh crore towards this head, the total cost in the form of interest at the rate of 8% would be only 0.04% of country's GDP. And this amount can be afforded by the government considering the nature of problems MSMEs are facing. However, government might add preconditions for MSMEs for such loans like maintaining workforce and no layoffs. So these are some of the suggestions that we've already given. We understand that the most pinching point of MSME is financial needs, and hence we are conducting this important webinar for MSMEs, where various stakeholders, where there is a various stakeholders of financial ecosystem have agreed to join us to share their views and advice for MSMEs. I welcome all the speakers for joining us today. I would like to assure you that FICCI and FICCI CMSME, which is an allied body within FICCI for catering to MSME sector, both will work towards the sustainable development of MSME of country. And with these words, I would like to introduce to you our today's session moderator, Mr. Pawan Bindal. He's a member of FICCI CMSME expert group and co-founder of TimePay. So Mr. Bindal is a management professional with 18 years of experience, 18 plus years of experience spanning diverse functions such as strategy, business development, operation, banking. Before starting his own venture, he worked for over 12 years with Dun Bradstreet, including his recent stint with DNB India as a senior director, managing DNB operation across the country. He has a good understanding of both MSME and financial services. I'm sure that ensuing discussion will be fruitful for all. Before I hand over to Mr. Bindal, I also like to once again welcome all the speakers and acknowledge the support provided by SOLV towards this initiative. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Bindal.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Hemanji. First of all, a warm welcome to all the participants. On this panel, we can already see, I mean, the panelists are here, but equally importantly, perhaps more importantly, there are 100 plus businesses out there, right? MSME is a term that we use, but all businesses have their own stories to tell, have their own challenges and opportunities. So while we discuss in this panel vis-a-vis the word MSME, we all realize and recognize that these are all businesses that provide employment. These are businesses that manufacture goods, trade in goods, that help farmers reach consumers. These are the businesses that keep larger corporations running. So I think the importance of small, medium businesses, I don't think a business is really measured by size. I think the way to look at MSME or any business is by the contribution that they have on the economy. And I think, while this crisis, Corona crisis or COVID crisis, as one would sort of term it, is hitting all aspects of life and economy. But on business, the impact has been very, very deep. So in that sense, I think this webinar is very pertinent. I thank FICCI and organizing committee, Hemanji and everybody for setting it up. But I also want to thank all businesses that have come here. I'm sure seeking certain answers, having a lot of queries. We will try and do justice to your time, because for businesses, time is very important. So we thank you for this and respect you for this. We also have a very, very informed panel comprising various aspects of financial services as small and medium businesses may see it. So I'll get into introduction of the panel and certain house rules. But just I want to sort of set the context, right? I come from a business family myself. I've been in professional side, but my family has been in textiles. We have been in industrial products. So business issues are sort of known to me, at least close at hand. So if I'm a businessman today, what's the situation around me? Saikat and I were discussing earlier that anyway, the economy was not in very good shape. Exports were down. GDP growth rate was low. Auto sales were very down. So various sectors are already suffering when February, March happened. Uske upar se, now when we see the situation, of course, factories are shut. There is no activity happening except for food and pharma to some extent. So there is very little demand. There is no production happening. And then we also see a situation where a large corporate buyers, some of us will be selling to large corporates. They have started to delay their payments and say, ki, bhai, hum abhi nahi de sakte, we will pay after the lockdown is over. And then there is a government directive which says, ki, even if you are a small business, you still have to pay the salaries to your employees. And funding was always an issue. So in some sense, it is like a perfect crisis, a perfect storm that we are all facing. I will be very candid in admitting that in this panel, we may not have solution to all your problems, all your questions, but we'll make an honest attempt to answer some of that. We will try and keep it interactive, but given the number of people who are there, the way I suggest to run this is that we will have a discussion amongst panelists basis certain questions that all of you have already given to us when you registered. So I have a long list of questions already. I will be going to each of the panelists with those questions. And then after about 40-45 minutes, we will open it up for questions, which my colleagues are recording. So you can continue to send your questions over the chat. And Sumitra from FICCI will be recording those questions and relaying it to us as the panel, and we'll take those questions. So with that, and with the hope of making this panel very interactive and very engaging, once again, I welcome you and thank you. A quick introduction of the panelists. I'm going in no particular sequence. We have Ketan Gaikwad, who runs India's one of the foremost trade exchanges, RXIL. He's here with us. Ketan ji, thank you for your time. We have with us Dr. Acharya, who's responsible for various operations at SIDBI, which is a frontal developmental institution in sort of helping execute some of the policies and programs of the various ministries, Finance Ministry, MSME Ministry, works with banks. So Dr. Acharya, thank you for your time. We also have, Rachna Bhusari from NSE SME Exchange, which is called Emerge, a very important institution that is helping SMEs avail alternate means of financing through the equity markets route. So Rachna, thank you and welcome to you as well. We have Saikat from CARE ratings. And given that he sort of interacts regularly with corporates and SMEs and with bankers, he should be in a position to answer a lot of questions that all of us have. We will also shortly have Mr. Ravindra Mishra, who is from SBI, State Bank of India, in the SME sort of department. He heads that practice for SBI out of Delhi. And we are also joined by Nitin Mittal, who's the CEO, co-founder at Solve. And Solve, I managed to understand a bit of that. They are trying to solve for various issues of SMEs anyway, and they have very kindly agreed to support this webinar. So Nitin, welcome to you as well. So with that, I welcome all the panelists, and we are going to sort of open it up and take it forward. Hemanji, with your kind permission.
Please
yeah.
Go ahead.
So I've just sort of rushed through the introductions deliberately because I wanted to give each of the panelists a quick opportunity to introduce themselves. And the way we should do this is that, apart from introducing yourself, more importantly, talk about your respective organization and what your organization is doing or would be doing to help SMEs, right? So these institutions have existed even before Corona, but they have to change their strategy and approach with Corona crisis coming in and come up with specific schemes and programs. So I'm going to go one by one and have a line of introductions and ask you about what your organization is doing to help SMEs in this situation. So Ketan, I'm sort of again jumping to you first. So just help explain what RXIL is and how is it helping SMEs meet an important part of their financing requirement. Ketan, over to you. If somebody could please unmute Ketan, let me try and do that. Ketan, you are unmute now. Try.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Pawan, and thank you to FICCI for organizing a very important seminar, especially for MSMEs, where we feel that, where we all know that MSMEs are the most affected in this particular set of crisis. So thank you again. And thank you to all the participants who have joined from many places. I can see almost 200 participants who have joined now. And thank you to all, because this is a very important aspect of financing, which we are talking about. So Receivables Exchange India Limited was started it's a joint venture between SIDBI and NSE. And we have the speakers from NSE as well as SIDBI also over here. And it's a joint venture between SIDBI and NSE. And we have stakeholders of SBI, ICICI Bank and Yes Bank. So RXIL Receivables Exchange India Limited is basically a TReDS platform, which is a mandate which was given by RBI to look into particularly the issues of delayed payments. I'll just go a little bit briefly into the government efforts which were taken by the government to ease the biggest problem, especially related to the delayed payments. So in 2006, government came out with a MSMED Act, which very clearly mandated that the MSMEs have to be paid within 45 days. In 2012, so I'll just take you to the brief and then I'll tell you the evolution of TReDS platform exactly. So RBI set up a TReDS platform, gave a directive in 2015 where RBI came out with clear guidelines on what the TReDS platform should be doing. And this was primarily to ensure that the delayed payments of the MSMEs are taken care of. So in 2015, the RBI came out with the guidelines, and there were 3 exchanges in 2016 which got licenses. And in 2017 was the first transaction which Receivables Exchange India Limited conducted. So in India, we have 3 exchanges. One is ours, which is RXIL, Receivables Exchange India Limited. The second one is by A.TReDS, which is InvoiceSmart, which is promoted by Axis Bank. And the third one is M1 Exchange, which is by Mind Solutions. Basically, the TReDS is the platform which gets the suppliers, the MSME suppliers, the buyers, the corporate buyers, and the finances on the platform. So here you have a platform which it's a completely a digital platform. It's a seamless platform where the government envisaged that when the MSMEs make the supplies to the large corporates, they should come on the platform. And once the corporate has accepted that particular invoice, that invoice becomes a factoring unit. And that factoring unit can be financed by the financiers. So the financing happens by way of a competitive bidding. So, that's where, and depending on the credit risk of the corporate buyer, the financiers basically go for the financing of that. So what we have over here is we have the corporate MSMEs come on the platform. So what we need on the platform is that the registration should be done by sellers, buyers, and the financiers. And there's only a one-time agreement which gets executed by all these parties with the platform. So the platform ensures the seamless transactions for the MSME. So this platform, so we also have transactions which are factoring, which are financed by the supplier. So where the financing charges are paid by the suppliers over here, which are the MSMEs, then we call it as a factoring transaction. So the factoring involves the suppliers coming on the platform, giving the invoices, and the payment happening once the bidders, once the invoices are accepted by the corporate, and the financiers bid for that particular invoice. Reverse factoring is where the corporates also can come in. They can do the financing. They can ask for the financing for those invoices where the suppliers gets paid immediately within 48 hours. And after 48 hours, within 48 hours, the suppliers get paid. And then the financier and then the buyer can make the payment after the during the on the due date with the interest which is borne by the buyer. So this is a two-way mechanism wherein the suppliers also can come with the accepted invoice as well as the buyer can also come on the. So what are the benefits which are there on the platform? The platform ensures that MSMEs get this platform is truly a non-recourse, no collateral-based platform, wherein the rates are also a risk against the large corporates which come on the platform. There you have the immediate payment which happens to the suppliers, and it's completely digital and it's paperless. So that's how it is working towards, and that's how it ensures that even during the COVID scenario, there are certain cases where we are also ensuring seamless function of the platform, and the payments are happening to the MSME suppliers. What are the initiatives which are taken by the government? So the government is very keen that this platform becomes successful, because at the end of the day, the MSMEs are getting the seamless payments against the supplies, and it takes care of the liquidity. So the government made it mandatory for the priority for the public sector units, the central PSUs and the state PSUs can come on the platform and they have to register on it. As an outreach program by the government in MSME outreach program in 2018, the government came with a mandate that all the corporates above 500 crores turnover have to necessarily join on the platform. And the government is also monitoring on what the transactions are happening on the platform. So, so much to speak that in the last 1 week we have got queries from the highest offices in India asking about what is happening on the platform, how many transactions have been transacted, how many PSUs are there. So what is seen over here is that although the platform ensures that the trades, it's a seamless digital payment to the MSMEs, the corporates, what they have done is the corporate as well as the PSU, they are just registered on the platform, and they are not, I would say, they're not transacting on the platform. So we see that over a period of interaction with the government in the last 1 month, especially in the wake of the crisis, we see that the government may come out with a mandate that the MSMEs have to register on the platform, and then they will ask the corporates why are they not on the platform and why are they not doing the transactions on the platform. So that's what it is from my side, Pawan, and I'll leave it to you. Then we can have whatever questions we have, we can answer. Give it to you, Pawan.
Sure. So thanks, Ketan. So what I've understood is that if you are a supplier that has sales to larger corporates, it could be PSUs, it could be some private sector, large companies, I could go to RXIL, register myself, and against those invoices. So if I'm invoicing somebody on 1st of April and the payment will actually come only after, let's say, 3 months, which is, let's say, by July, I could actually come to RXIL and get that invoice discounted, and a bank will give me the money immediately at reasonably lower rates of interest. Is that a broad enough summary, Ketan?
Absolutely. But one more thing is over here is that, mandatorily or regulatorily, the MSME has to get the payment within 45 days. So if you were to bill the invoice on 1st of April, within 45 days, mandatorily you have to receive the payment. So yes, within 45 days, the corporate has to release the payment. So assuming that you were to bill the corporate on the 1st of April, if you were to come on the platform on the 1st of April itself, and the corporate were to accept that invoice also on 1st of April, on 2nd of April, you will receive the payment. It is as simple and as seamless it is. Only hook over here is that the corporate has to accept it.
Sure. So it will work when my buyer, the corporate that I'm selling to, is on the platform and is active, and I'm sure that number will increase. It's a good thing, and maybe we will go into a little bit more detail, Ketan. Thanks for this quick input. Now,
Pavan, you're on mute.
am I audible?
Yes.
Yep. Thanks for that, Ratna. So I want to go to Nitin. Nitin, you're sort of heading this platform called Solve, and your focus is small and medium businesses, and there are various ways that you are trying to help SMEs on the finance side, on commerce side. So if you could just sort of help explain in simple language, what is the benefit that a small business can have by signing up to Solve as a platform? If we could unmute. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Pawan, and welcome everybody. Thanks for joining. We appreciate your time. So Solve is a platform for MSMEs. Here we help all of you with the help of digital onboarding. You can come onto the platform. You can be a manufacturer, trader, buyer, or in any profession, as long as we can establish that you are an MSME. We have a network within which after SMEs are onboarded, they can discover each other and do commerce transaction on the platform by connecting, like we all connect, and negotiating. And we help MSMEs in completing the transaction after they have agreed to do the trade by providing online payment services and logistics. So that's a part of commerce which we do on our platform. We currently support more than 100,000 SMEs across multiple sectors like FMCG, hotel, restaurant, catering, chemical industry, textile and apparel, and few others. Apart from helping SMEs to grow by finding new buyers and sellers, we also provide a range of financial services. And most importantly, we provide short-term working capital unsecured, and that's one of the thing which we are launching today alongside with Vicky after this seminar for all of you, where if you are in an industry which is helping to overcome country's biggest challenge of COVID-19, you are all invited to participate on that program to avail short-term working capital unsecured. Only qualifying criteria is that you need to be working towards producing stuff which are relevant for helping the current situation. You can be a manufacturer, can be in the healthcare space, you can be in textile, pivoting your business to manufacture mask, PPEs, or anything related to healthcare services. So apart from financial services credit, we also offer other financial products, which is in partnership with RXIL. We do invoice financing. We have our own dealer distributor financing capability of supply chain. So once you onboard and you start doing transactions with us, you get exposed to all these services digitally. Third thing which we have on the platform for everyone is we help SMEs with tax and compliance services. So anything which you would like to avail in terms of advice, at the same time you have challenges with refunds, if it is stuck, we have a panel of large consultants who take up your cases digitally and help you resolve those. And lastly, we also enable a lot of SMEs with digital marketing and packaging capability, because all of them create wonderful product, but it also requires specific marketing and distribution branding capability, which many of the MSMEs don't have with them at this point in time, and we enable that to happen. So this is a whole range of services which all of you can avail by being onto the platform like Solve.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Nitin. I think that was helpful. Again, I think it'll help to go into a little bit more detail later. But what I understood and trying to put it in sort of simple Hindi, because that's how I think, is that मैं आपके प्लेटफॉर्म पे आ सकता हूँ, कुछ मार्केटिंग कर सकता हूँ, कुछ unsecured financing means no collateral financing कर सकता हूँ. You can maybe help me, कुछ branding करने के लिए आप help कर सकते हैं. And you also have some special package or some special scheme if I'm manufacturing something related to the current situation of COVID, right? So Nitin, is that how Solve is approaching support to SMEs?
Yeah, and not only manufacturing, even if you are doing distribution or services in the area of helping the COVID situation, we would help you with financing as well.
Fantastic, fantastic. That's helpful. So I think this is useful, Nitin. I want to now sort of go across to Rachna, and we could unmute Rachna just a minute.
Yeah, I can hear you, Pawan.
Hey,
Yeah.
so Rachna, so you're running the SME exchange at NSE. Now, if I'm a small business, I look at the stock exchange as a place where Reliance Industries is listed and Godrej is listed. It's the place for big people, right? So the question that I would have as a small business who's perhaps not aware is that what does an exchange have to do with a small business?
Pawan, I would have totally agreed with you if this was a pre-2012 scenario. But since 2012, the regulators put up a framework for establishing a platform which would enable small and medium enterprises to list themselves on the exchange. And both the exchanges, the BSE and the NSE, started their platform in the same year in 2012. So yes, post 2012, alternate funding mechanism and an alternate fundraising mechanism was provided to smaller corporates. And it was in a very simplified manner that the framework was designed. And while we continue the discussion over a period of time in this panel, I will talk to you about what the various benefits or what are the various ways that a company could get listed on the exchange. But to begin with, I would just say that, traditionally we are all known to fund the corporates through the internal accrual method or through the banking funding mechanisms. But banking funding mechanisms always need a backup of collaterals, and there would be a stage where there would have been inadequacy or there is inadequacy of the collaterals for the promoter to fund his business enterprise. At such a stage, when there is inadequacy of the collateral, what is the alternate funding mechanisms that is available to the corporates is where I've come in, and I would explain the platform to all the participants here who should look at it as a long-term fundraising platform. Again, I would say that, this is about that a company can come up with an IPO and list themselves on the stock exchange and come in within the regulatory framework. And this fundraising provides various avenues to boost capital into the company and take your company into a growth model and sustainable business development model. Listing presupposes that a company would have a decent growth model, and it will also have a huge sustainable business development model already in place. So hence, this fundraising platform will enable companies who are in the growing phase of their businesses to tap the funds through the public markets. So in case you have effectively and efficiently used all your debt facilities and you still need growth capital, then this platform is the right platform where you could list yourself on the stock exchange. And this being, I said this since this platform was launched only in 2012, currently 209 companies have got listed on this platform on the NSE Emerge platform. And these companies have cumulatively garnered more than 3,000 crores of funds, with the market capitalization of these companies in the range of 12,000 crores. So this is how we've seen the platform grow over a period of time. And I have just touched upon, it's a very simplified framework. It has identified corporates not on the basis of the MSME definition, but it has identified corporates based on just the paid up capital of the company. So in case any enterprise or any corporate, a public listed, any private limited company which has a paid up capital of less than 25 crores is eligible to come and tap the funds through this markets. This is a SEBI regulated platform, and SEBI has defined this criteria, and both the exchanges have put in additional criteria for the companies to list themselves on the stock exchange. The only other two additional criteria which NSE has laid upon for companies to list themselves is to have a track record of 3 years and to have a profitability of 2 years. So this is the only fairly simple requirement that is required for a company to come and list themselves on the stock exchange. And I would discuss more in detail while we go through this panel further.
Hey, Rachna, thanks for that. So understand it a little better. So just a quick one, and then sort of I move. So you're saying this is a platform specifically to help small businesses to get listed, like other big companies get listed on the normal NSE platform. This platform is specifically for small and medium businesses. 200 companies are already listed. How small could a company be if it has to be listed on your platform, apart from the fact that it needs to be profitable, proper books and all that has to be, but how small could a company be?
Yeah. So if I have to talk about, we're talking about a company with a paid up capital of any company with a paid up capital of less than 25 crores. So I think, the population covers such kind of companies, but for themselves to be eligible to list on the stock exchange, we said the 3 years of track record, 2 years of profitability, but going seen as public interest envisaged in a company, we've seen companies of the size of at least 8 crores of turnover and above.
Right.
Are the ones who find themselves able to attract a lot of interest of the investors in these kind of companies. Because the smaller companies have yet to either, they have just started their business and just started showing seeds of growth, but actually not propel themselves into a growth model. So somewhere we've seen that kind of a company coming list onto the stock exchange. But yes, in the service sector, we have also seen companies of the lower turnover get themselves listed on the stock exchange. So though there is no lower criteria or a higher criteria for a turnover, we have seen interest participation of the investors in a large, not a very small kind of a company. They're looking for a medium or a kind of a company of 10 crores or something, which at least feels, yes, there's something on the books that's worth investing in. So that's the feedback of the market from the investor perspective.
I'm sure in that sense, 10 crores could be, it's more of a experience-based benchmark. It's
right.
A specific benchmark, and I understand, but I think that's helpful. There are some questions coming in on NSE listing and all of that, but I'll take those questions as we go along and just sort of complete one round of discussions. Dr. Acharya, I'm coming to you because you at SIDBI are in some sense carrying decades of experience on how the government, SME ministry and finance ministry have been developing institutions. SIDBI has been involved. You've been at forefront setting up SMERA and SIDBI set up RXIL as well. So could you just explain the role that SIDBI is playing? It's not a conventional banker. What role is SIDBI playing vis-a-vis helping SMEs in general?
Yeah, thanks, Pawan. Good afternoon, everyone. And I am Dr. S.S. Acharya and working with SIDBI as General Manager here in Delhi. See, first of all, before coming to your question, I will, try to say something which possibly, will set the tone in a different perspective. Let us all think that, we are on a long vacation.
Right.
The moment we think that, things are going to be bad, only bad things are waiting for us, and then we start with a negativity and things may go only, worse from here on. So what I will try to project is, I project that, after this situation, we are going to witness a more self-reliant India. We are going to witness, a huge domestic demand. And see, since last 2 months, if you go to market, lot of things are not there. The manufacturing industries are going to manufacture them. It is not going to be imported. So it's not that, things are in very bad shape. Yes, they are indeed. But then going forward, we are going to witness a situation where our manufacturing industries definitely are not going to, be in complete bad shape for next, 6 months or 8 months. Yes, they may take 2-3 months to recoup, but I have a very, very positive outlook on a more self-reliant India, where its own manufacturing industry, more specifically the MSMEs, will be doing much, much, much better post this situation. But that is optimistic me. Coming back to the real scenario here, we'll talk about the current situation and the responses that SIDBI as the Apex Development Bank for the sector has put in place. Yes, SIDBI is the institution that is actually coordinating the function of all the financing institution to give a synergistic response to this kind of a crisis. SIDBI has been in the forefront of developing various institutions to create an ambient ecosystem so that the fund flow to the sector or the capacity building of the sector is improved. Whether it is the Emerge platform with the National Stock Exchange, or whether it is the Receivable Exchange of India, whether it is the SME Rating Agency of India, or whether it is SIDBI Venture Capital Limited. All institutions which are serving in one way or the other to supplement the efforts to create an ecosystem for MSME funding are created by SIDBI. So SIDBI's role is also institution building, which SIDBI has been doing. So I will keep my current discussion to the limited to the our response. SIDBI mostly is a development finance institution, but SIDBI also extends finance on a selective basis where there is a gap in funding in the ecosystem. Currently, we have introduced a few products that we call it SIDBI assistance for or emergency response to the COVID situation. We call it SAFE. And here we are covering the industries which are directly contributing to the fight against the current pandemic, whether it is manufacturing of the personal protective equipments, whether it is the medicines, whether it is hospital beds, whether it is the masks, whether it N95 masks, or whether it is ventilators, anything that any MSME is manufacturing, immediate within 48 hours 50 lakh rupees assistance is given at an interest rate of just 5% per annum, 5% per annum. And there is no processing fee. There is, if there is a government order, you can say, I am working on certain specific orders. I may get money and I may want to refund. So there is no prepayment charges. There is no processing charges, and there are no collateral security requirements. It will be covered under the credit guarantee mechanism, and SIDBI will bear the credit guarantee charges. So absolutely, this is a scheme. It is an emergency response to the current situation for helping the MSMEs which are now functioning to fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. And under this SAFE, we are giving 50 lakh of rupees. And there is also another scheme called SAFE Plus, where we are giving up to 1 crore against specific government orders. There also the other parameters are same. It is 50 lakh of 1 crore of rupees given in 48 hours against specific government orders, and interest rate is 5%, and no processing fee and no prepayment charges, because government will perhaps in 3 to 4 or 5 months will clear the bills, and they may like to prepay it. So there are no prepayment charges, no foreclosure charges are applicable. There are certain conditionalities, of course. They should be in the similar line of business. Obviously, the person who can deliver it immediately, the requirement is immediate. So obviously they have to be in the similar line of business. And last 2 years, they should be in cash profit. They should not be in losses, of course. They should be in cash profit. We are not even insisting on net profit. We are insisting on cash profit. So this kind of very, very attractive schemes are there. And then, we were talking about the response from the Reserve Bank of India that is Of course, there were certain regulatory forbearance that was already offered in terms of 3 months of moratorium on interest and principal. And after that, certain assistance has been announced by Reserve Bank of India. 15,000 crore was given to SIDBI for refinancing to the banks, the financial institutions, other financial institutions like the microfinance institutions, NBFCs, etc., so that they can also meet the immediate requirement of the MSMEs post this lockdown period. Once the lockdown opens, there will be so many unforeseen expenses. Of course, people are worried about salary. People are worried about one very peculiar situation may emerge. Your creditor may not be in a position to give you the credit where he was affording to you maybe 2 months back. He may demand cash payment. So your working capital cycle will be squeezed and squeezed further. So your requirements will go up. So, some amount of liquid cash is required. So banks are giving, most of the banks are giving 10% of their total limit as an ad hoc relief assistance that is at a very, very competitive rate. And to refinance such need-based assistance to the banks and various financial institutions, SIDBI is using that. And for its own customers, SIDBI has also introduced a liquid product that is to meet their immediate liquidity requirement. That is at just 7.4% for 1 year. This is the liquidity support is for 1 year at 7.4%, and beyond that there will be a different rate. So these are the schemes that are in place to immediately help the MSMEs which need some kind of assistance. And of course, when you come to the ecosystem level, SIDBI has I was just browsing through the various questions people were asking about collateral. In fact, Rachna also was talking about collateral requirements. You see, collateral is something that is required to secure banks money. It's public money, and many of the MSMEs may lack that. So in order to plug that kind of requirement from MSMEs, SIDBI has introduced this scheme, that is credit guarantee scheme. Since last 20 years it has been operating, since 2001. SIDBI and the Government of India, up to 2 crore of rupees if it is sanctioned by any bank that is the member lending institution registered with CGTMSE, up to 2 crore loan is extended without any collateral security. The only thing is that it should be bankable, and the bank should be in a position to offer the loan on the strength of the primary security, and the collateral security is offered by the credit guarantee trust. So those kind of interventions are there with SIDBI. There are many other interventions, but I think let us limit our discussion to this interventions of SIDBI, which will be of immediate help to the MSMEs post COVID-19.
Thanks, Dr. Acharya. So, just in terms of what it means in practical terms for MSMEs, you are saying for businesses that are actively engaged in COVID-related supplies or COVID-related management, there is a facility available at an interest rate as low as 5% with very minimal procedures and collateral. And also, you talked of this 15,000 crore refinancing facility. So I'm just have a quick question there. When do you see this facility having some sort of an impact on ground? Will banks or NBFCs start to use that facility to relieve the burden on SMEs? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, that is the policy intention, that the overall cost to be kept at a much lower level. So the assistance that will be given to the MSMEs now to meet this kind of post-COVID situation will be at a much lower rate, so that their overall cost of borrowing comes down, and the terms will be also very liberal. So that is the intention. With that intention, this has been introduced. And more than banks, NBFCs are fund starved, and the microfinance institutions, which actually cater to the bottom of the pyramid entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, micro entrepreneurs, the microfinance institutions, or the small finance banks for that matter, SFBs, MFIs, they need funds to actually cater to the lowest strata of the entrepreneurs. So that's how, and the NBFCs, of course. That's why this fund is going to be very critical to this kind of institutions.
I get that. So Dr. Acharya, thank you. And so just to complete the round, I need to go to Shaukat. And Shaukat, last but specifically, I kept you at the end because I wanted to give you, I wanted you to give some perspective on very briefly on economic outlook as well, given that you are in the rating space. I think everybody is worried about their business and financial future. So apart from the introduction, if you can just give sort of a 2-3 lines on how you see it playing out next 6 months, 12 months from an economy perspective. Very brief, please, Saikar.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Pawan. I hope I am audible.
Yeah, if you can keep the mic closer to you. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Better now?
Better. Thank you.
Good. Good afternoon, everybody. I represent Care Ratings. We are a full-service rating agency and have been in the business for over 25 years. Our main business is to provide professional risk opinion for businesses, which can be used by lending institutions. Basically, coming to what Pawan just asked, what was the state of our economy? If I can run past some numbers through you, we have done an analysis just while we were last in office, April to February bank credit disbursement numbers, we can see that the lending to the industry was actually contracted by about 3%. In that, the only green shoot was 6.9% increase in lending to the services sector. But if you compare that from previous year, from 23.9%, it has come down to 6.9%. Within that, the MSME actually saw a contraction of 0.6%, and the NBFC lending, which the banks did, actually fell from 47.5% to about 22%. That is important because the NBFCs cater to the onward lending to the MFIs. So basically, we were not in the pink of health till the end of February as far as the overall economy is going. And that's very important to understand, because what it basically means that most of the businesses, and majorly the MSMEs, the 6.5 crore MSMEs employing 12 crore people, they've already severely tightened their belt. And everybody had gone through several rounds of cost cutting. So we were not at our optimum level of capacity utilization. We were much below that. The economic activity was at a level, and the financial market was at a completely different level, which is what we saw in March when the markets continuously crashed for a couple of weeks till they came to par. So what that has done is actually a blessing in disguise. Had we been at 95-100% capacity utilization, post-COVID, we would have simply fallen off the cliff. Now what has happened, we can probably see a little bit of staggered approach, because some businesses were anyway at 60, 65, 67% utilization. What is also true is we will have to clearly bifurcate the businesses into two. One is the essential commodities and one is the discretionary spend. Historically, we have seen post-Demon and post-GST that the discretionary spending came and recovered to some extent with a deferred purchase. But the essential commodities, there is practically no change. So we will have to wait and watch how this actually pans out. You also asked question about what we and Care Ratings or any other business is doing in the post-COVID arena. One of the major questions that people ask us is, why is rating required? Rating is required for businesses because that is your only answer to the risk aversion which financial institutions are putting forth. So basically 5-6 points it will help businesses address. It is a benchmarking of your business practices against the global best practices. It could become a preparatory doc when you are giving your loan submission, that a third-party agency has looked at your file and has analyzed your risk. It could give you a feedback for improvement. You could use it as a marketing tool. These days, we are all on social media, be it Facebook, be it LinkedIn, even WhatsApp group. We all get unsolicited invites. I am not sure everybody accepts those unsolicited invites. You need information about who the person is at the other end. If MSMEs are to be part of a global supply chain network of major OEMs, you have to put forth clear, crisp, accurate data about your entity and your ability in the public domain, which needs to be authenticated by someone else. And lastly, we will help you increase your profits. Why and how? By taking corrective action on all the above steps which I have mentioned. It will help reduce your interest cost, which will directly improve your profit. In the post-COVID scenario, as we evolve, what we will do is we will try and see what the industry is happening. We will bifurcate into essential and discretionary, and we will also see the trajectory a business would otherwise take with COVID and without COVID. And probably then we will have to figure out which trajectory they are most likely to follow. The most important thing in my mind is liquidity for the next 4 to 6 months. So that's where I think the maximum focus should come from everybody, including the government.
Thanks, Sharkat. We are now continuously seeing a lot of questions come up from audience. Sumitra and I had a chance to look at some of those questions. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to call out a specific person's question, but I'm trying to stitch them into common questions. The common theme in the question that I see is, how does all of this help me, right? I am a businessman, मैं अपना business कर रहा हूँ, funds is a problem, you know, I have to pay my suppliers, I have to pay my employees, but I'm not getting money. And when things open up, I'm going to sort of land up with some sort of a problem. So in that context, Ketan, if you can jump in and say in very simple, precise, specific terms that if I am, let's say, a wholesaler of certain industrial goods and I've got 300 customers, you know, across the country, or I could be a manufacturer of some component that is going into automotive chain, or I could be some supplier who's supplying into the chemical industry, right? So we're talking of these real people. How can these real businesses get help from RXIL? I mean, what do they need to do? Do they go to the platform, register, and then in 3 days time, they get their invoices financed? Is it as easy as that? Or is it again something that gets, you know, there is so much bureaucracy and so much paperwork that it's better to just stay where you are and none of this really helps? I'm just trying to play out the angst that businesses face when it comes to new initiatives.
See, the primary requirement to come on the TReDS platform is, you know, that you have to get registered on the platform. So that's a primary need, that the MSMEs have to get registered. The buyer also has at the same time to be able to get registered, in the sense, since the government has made it mandatory, the buyers are registered. So if you were to ask me, look, what can the manufacturers do? This is the best time for, you know, them to, during the lockdown period, for them to get registered on the platform and give us a list of the buyers which are to whom they are supplying, you know, anything above 500 crores. So we are looking at a platform, we are looking at a scenario where tomorrow I get a feeling that, look, the government might make it mandatory, and that's what has been the demand even in the media also. And we have also been very clearly voicing out to the government that at this point of time, TReDS is the best platform which can help alleviate the crisis to a certain extent. For example, look, there will be unpaid invoices which need to be paid because, look, at this point of time, each and every corporation has gone into a cash preservation mode. Although there might be, before the crisis, before February, we were talking to so many corporates where all the corporates were saying that, look, we have a lot of cash with us and we would like to deploy it on your platform. And that's not the scenario today. The same corporates who are talking of having excess cash now have gone into a cash conservation mode. And rightly so, because look, there is a lot of uncertainty on what is going to happen. Now it's totally unprecedented. We have not seen this kind of a ecosystem disruption, supply chain disruption at any point of time during a lifetime. So the best thing, what we are talking to the government is very clearly that, look, and so rightfully so, the lot many editorials are also coming in ET, LiveMint, Business Standard. Everyone is advocating that, look, TReDS platform is the best platform for the corporates to use it, because at this point of time, you have the MSMEs who have supplied to these corporates getting the payment immediately, provided the corporate has accepted it. And the corporate also gets an extended payment. So if you were to ask me what should be the MSMEs doing to the, if they, I would suggest that, look, you should get registered on the platform, and that's the best thing to do. And I think there's nothing which can, all the more it can help you, because tomorrow your buyers will definitely be there on any of these 3 platforms. And when they are on the 3 platforms, we envisage a scenario. This is my views completely, that we envisage a scenario that the government will be asking questions on funding. That tomorrow, if you are to be supplying to a large corporate, and if the large corporate is there on the platform, and if the financing does not happen on the platform, they will be definitely questioning why is this not happening? Why didn't you do it? And I feel a scenario where, it should be, we have written to government that it should be made mandatory. Government is working. My positive feeling is that the government is working towards it, where they will make it mandatory for the corporates to start transacting, or at least when the supplier onboards that particular invoice, gets onboarded on a platform where the corporate is registered, and if he passes that invoice through that platform, if the corporate does not accept it, provided, look, there should not be any quality issues or any other issues which normally are seen. If they are not there, and if the corporate is bound, has to pay, then there is no reason the corporate should not be accepting it, because it's nothing, it's just a commitment which is going from his side that he has to make the payment. And I feel that there will be something which will come on the platform.
Ketan, I'm interrupting. I'm sorry. There are sort of a couple of questions that have come in. You can just sort of explain this platform. So this is receivables exchange. So RXIL, just mention that so that people have it visibly in their head.
Yeah. So basically, I represent Receivables Exchange. I'm the CEO of Receivables Exchange India Limited. It's a platform which is mandated by Reserve Bank of India. So we are a mandated platform, and it's a platform which is promoted by SIDBI and National Stock Exchange, NSE, and that's what it is. So this is one among the three platforms which is there. And just to conclude my discussion, the point over here, what the manufacturers should do at this point of time, they should get registered. If they're supplying B2B, they should get registered on either of the platforms. I think my platform would be ideal, because now we have gone completely digital, where looking at the need of the hour, in the last 1.5 months, we have been working towards making the onboarding absolutely digital, except for certain things like e-stamping, which is not currently live. Otherwise, we are completely digital. So we can onboard the supplier. Earlier it used to be a manual process and it used to take a lot of time, but now it's completely digital. So if the supplier has all the documents in place, which are a little bit cumbersome over here, because that's a RBI regulated platform where we need an agreement, KYC documents and all those things. And if I think if all the documents, KYC documents are in place and with the supplier, he can just register with our platform within a matter of 45 minutes to 1 hour. And we have done that end-to-end testing.
So Ketan, just to make it again real for a business that may be interested amongst the participants today, a couple of quick questions. What kind of interest rates do I expect, right? The perception can be that bank interest is lower. So what kind of interest rate will I have to pay if I discount invoices and get liquidity from your platform? Number one. Number two, what kind of corporate buyers are we looking at? Is it only PSUs? Could you share some names so that the participants can then go on to your website, check out and see if it is relevant to them?
So look, we have the largest number of PSUs, if you ask me at this point of time. So we have PSUs ranging from BPCL, HPCL, ONGC, BHEL, largest, you name them, and we have them on a platform. But yes, some PSUs are active, some PSUs are not. But I feel that we have started this outreach exercise, and we're reaching out to all the PSUs, CMDs and all that to ensure that they start transacting on the platform, which was not there prior to March, prior to February. And the most interesting part is the fees, So the fees is something like it's an auction-based platform. So there's a lot of competition between the banks to bid for these assets. So we have seen the rates of interest going to as low as 6.1%. Can you imagine a scenario where you're supplying to a large corporate and you have to take a loan because you as a supplier, you have to pay the GST, you have to pay for your inventory, you have to pay for your working capital because you have a fixed cost and other things, and you get paid after 45 days. Imagine a scenario. For that scenario, you have to go and take a loan from a company, a loan from a bank, and you get a loan of 12 to 13%. That 12 to 13%, which is fully collateralized and with recourse. Here you have a scenario where you go and load your invoice on the platform. You get the payment immediately, provided the bank, provided the corporate accepts it. And there is a competition amongst the banks to quote the finest rate, because the banks, for these kind of invoices on the platform, they get a priority sector lending treatment. So we have seen the rates moving. When I joined this platform, we have seen the rates, the rates which are moved in the last 1 year is phenomenal. We have seen the rates move from 8.5 to 6.5 to 6.1%. In fact, last week, we had seen a rate of 6.1% for one of the largest PSUs. And that's what it is. So I have one of the association members, in fact, the president of that particular association in South, of a large PSU who have given us a thank you letter, because their association members, their MSME members who are supplying to the largest corporate over there in South, they have done transactions worth 300 crores in the last 6 months. They have saved interest out to the tune of 6 crores in the last 6 months. So you can imagine the cost save which the MSMEs are incurring on that particular, on account of the being on the TReSS platform. And that's very important.
So Ketan, I think at 6%, 7% or even 8%, I don't think you have to really advocate it. I think it's self-explanatory that it is in everyone's interest. So I would recommend to the businesses out there that are supplying to large corporates or to PSUs to check out the website and see, because even if 20% of your outstanding receivables can be routed to RXIL and you have that much liquidity upfront, I think it allows, it allows for much better cash flow planning. And I think RXIL is something that I would believe is useful not only in the COVID times, but I think it's more of a long-term thing where you can then, focus on sort of growth and business rather than having to worry about your payments. So I think it's a good initiative, and we'll sort of see if there are further questions on that, and your team can take those separately. Nitin, I come next to you as a logical extension of what Ketan was mentioning. So there have been some questions that have been put up, and I'm not sort of taking them in any sequence, but there have been questions that are there COVID, if I'm making certain things that are related to COVID, I'm making sanitizers, I'm making masks, what can be done, right? So maybe you can sort of take that question. And also, I think you should just give a little bit line about how, businesses, once the lockdown opens, it will not be a complete opening up, right? People will still maintain some social distancing. So what can businesses do to do business more digitally? Like if I'm a businessman trading in industrial products, or if I'm a wholesaler, or I'm a small manufacturer, can I actually go digital? Because most of that world has really done business face-to-face and paper and all of that. So that has also been a question that has come up.
Sure.
Nitin,
your voice was echoing.
Which are helping the current scenario of COVID-19. We have launched.
Go on, Nitin, go on.
Is it any better?
It's better now, Nitin, go on.
Nitin, you can repeat, because that we lost you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So if anyone is in the space where they are helping with COVID-19 situation to be managed, either you are a manufacturer or a distributor or providing services in this space, we are providing a collateral-free loan on our platform. You can come on board yourself digitally. It's a very simple journey, and we will take you through the process, and response would come via our financial marketplace in a very reasonable period of time. And that's the first thing which we can offer to you, which is collateral-free loan immediately, which will help you to get your working capital going. Because once your wheels start moving, then of course, all the capacity can be enhanced, and you can supply to large corporates, and there your invoices can be discounted, and your life in over next 3 to 6 months will come back to normal. Second thing is, when the situation start becoming normal, and when things start to trade, obviously the conventional method of trading have to change. So on a Solve platform, like you can come on board. It's a very simple onboarding process. You can create your catalog of services. So for example, even if you're a manufacturer of certain parts, you can list it. Your buyers can come on board, discover your products. And we have replicated the traditional conversational method of businesses on digital platform, which is in the form of a chat. And we help you to trade completely the way you would be trading right now in an offline model. The difference here is that here you will get more number of buyers. And if you are in a buying space, then you will get more options of suppliers to buy across India. and that will help you to expand your business and get more choices in a seamless manner. And we will enable you with digital payments, so you really don't need to worry about your payment, because it's a binding contracts which we end up signing digitally on the platform. And then we help you with logistics, which is moving the goods from sellers to buyers. And that's how we would enable the MSMEs as things starts to open up across the ecosystem over a period of time. We can also help in digital marketing of your current products once you have started transacting on our platform after being onboarded. So two things will help you with digital commerce, just like everybody is used to doing being a seller on an Amazon on certain category. We are an Amazon for a B2B business, and we will connect all the buyers and sellers across the country to come on platform and trade and fulfill their trade requirements. Plus credit, collateral free credit is available via our financial partners in a digital format. You don't need to move out of your space. You don't need to go from bank to bank. You don't need to worry about collateralizing anything. And you can come on the platform and use it.
Right. And then that's helpful. There are some questions that are coming up. I don't know if Dr. Acharya or Ketan or even Hemant Bhai want to take. There are questions regarding to what can exporters do? I mean, do they have some are there some special funding, financing facilities available vis-a-vis the export sector? And a similar question has been raised vis-a-vis the service sector. So any of my co-panelists want to take that question and address that? How could exporters handle their cash flow situation and their financing in these times? Or even Saikat.
I'll give it a shot. I have heard that the government is working towards working on the export sector, but in the meantime, what the government has done is that the interest subvention scheme, which was there, which expires somewhere in March, they have extended it. So there are efforts from the government to make exports beneficial. So they are trying to do something about it. Not much details are known about at this point of time. I'm sorry, but the last I had heard is that the interest subvention scheme is extended.
Sure. I think in general, I think what will be true for exports as services and anybody else, I think while financing is one important aspect, I think the immediate question could even be sort of more of a business question, right? That where will demand be, right? And if there are no export orders, how do you then sort of account for your daily expenses, monthly expenses, rent, salaries, etc. And I think in that sense, it also almost becomes a business question that can exporters sort of look to sell in the domestic market and actually work with their local bankers to try and sort of shift the business in the other direction and convince the bankers that they are going to be able to cater to some domestic demand, and hence they need working capital. Saikat, do you see a situation in that way? I mean, do you see that exporters will be more stressed than other sectors and will need special help?
We first need to look at the overall picture of what the Indian economy, and we are an inward facing economy. Exports is about 37-38% of our total GDP. The MSME contributes about 45% of the exports. So when we get the March data, which says that exports from previous March is down by 35%, those 45% of the MSMEs are impacted. In the MSME space, 31% are into manufacturing and 69% is into services. The moment you put this data in front of me, I would tend to believe that this 69% is the inward facing, is the domestic economy that we are talking about. And the 31% is out of that manufacture, about 50% would be exports. So the basic problem that they are going to face is from the inward economy rather than from the outside. Now, exporters have two major windows to sell. One is this period, May, June, the pre-Ramadan period in the Middle East, where all the stocking up happens for the garments, for the apparel, everything. and the next one is during pre-Christmas for the Western countries. The way we are seeing the jobless data for at least the US jobless data is out, it is very, very difficult and hazardous to predict what kind of demand destruction we are talking about. Again, it will come down to if there are certain discretionary spends which would see a deferred purchase or not. Otherwise, it will going to fall back as of now all on the ECGC cover that you have.
Thank you, Saikat. There are sort of some questions coming up from participants asking about what about services sector? Can services sector get fresh loans? Can they get additional facilities for services sector? Would any of you want to take that, attempt that? Ketan, Hemant, from our discussion with various bankers that are trying to have additional facilities for services sector. Saikat, you wanted to go in, I mean, in terms of very specific of what is service sector going to be treated differently, better or worse in terms of additional facilities or emergency helplines? You want to take a shot at that?
Not particularly on the facilities, on the business per se. Just one sentence I wanted to add. I can see a lot of questions coming in around services the fact of the matter is that registered MSMEs, I mean, Ketan has been pleading to everybody to get registered. I think that is one of the major problems that we have. The number of unregistered MSMEs is 3 times the registered. That we all know. There is a public procurement policy which mandates all central and PSUs to procure 25% of their goods and services from the MSME sector. It is mandated. Out of that, there is a further, I think, 5% for socially backward SC/ST entrepreneurs. We are nowhere close to that. Now, the problem is that MSME ministry has already set up an MSME data bank. Earlier, it used to happen कि मेरे district में ये product मुझे नहीं मिला. That's why I could not procure it from the MSME. Now you have an MSME data bank. It comes for free. You have to go. It's a goods and services both. You have to get yourself registered. It is called Udyog Aadhaar number. It is free. Your name, your contact details, your products will be listed district wise in the MSME data bank. Please go and register yourself and you start supply. The government also has a GEM network, government e-marketplace. You mentioned it at the beginning. Now that and the TREADS platform was supposed to hand in hand. You supply to the government, take the invoice, discount it on the spread, and your entire supply chain is taken care of. That's what I wanted to put across.
So I just want to add in, I mean, from my perspective, trying to take a panelist hat at this moment, I think one of the concerns for services sector will be that they may not have business, but they still have to pay salaries and rent. I believe the government has come out with notification that businesses that are having provident fund for their employees could actually sort of borrow some temporary facilities from the PF corpus for the purpose of paying some salaries, right? So I think there are some facilities available. Hemant, you want to come in and say what kind of options are available for services sector? Hemant?
Yeah, Pawan, hi. See the services sector, like I said, you had already, Saikat has already talked about GEM portal, where they are, listing a lot of MSMEs who can provide services that even includes, taxi services. So if you look at the service aspect, I cannot comment on the banking aspect, though this is one area where service, there are issues in terms of lending to service sector. I'm sure the banks and the government is working on that. The reason for that is basically there is no, especially like software, if you look at, they don't have any asset to, to collate for as a collateral. So it becomes difficult for banks to assess the repayment capacity of an MSME. So besides that, but of course, there are service companies who are being funded. I think the best platform where service sectors should look at is to list them in GEM. And of course, the idea is also to create business directories of service providers and things like that, which Vicky is already working on.
So again, I would like to draw attention that there is this PF withdrawal from the PF corpus, and this is part of a list of various steps that government has taken to benefit MSMEs, not specifically targeted services sector, but more broadly.
Yes.
I think FICCI has compiled some of this in concise documents. Himanji, is that available for participants here to look at? Is it available in some public place?
Yeah. So every notification, every government order has been placed in FICCI website. If you visit the FICCI website, we have created a special page on COVID-19 where all the studies, surveys, the announcement by different ministries and governments have been placed. So it is one platform where you can actually go and see all the circulars related as so far as COVID is concerned. Yeah, so it's www.ficci.com. So you can visit our website and go to the COVID page.
There is some questions that relate to project financing. Project financing not in the sort of mega project sense, but would banks and financial institutions be open to funding specific projects? So there is a question on COVID related equipment funding. There are some question on solid waste management. So for people who are thinking to set up new businesses now, of course you can argue it's a good time or a bad time, but where should businesses go if they want to get funding of 50 lakhs, 1 crore, 2 crore, 5 crore for certain new projects? Should they go to banks or should they approach alternate financiers? What are the avenues available?
Yeah, so Pawan, I won't be able to answer that, but soon SBI Mr. Ravindra would be joining us, and probably we can place that question to him, being a banker.
Nitin, you've sort of a marketplace model, right? So is that marketplace where various banks are there? Is it catering only to working capital, or are there options to sort of look at some sort of projects also?
So for the manufacturers who are already in this line of business and they are adding new categories within their manufacturing which are relevant for COVID situation, it could be ventilators or any other medical equipment. Yes, there is a facility available, and you can reach out to our website and find out more about it. And we can help channelize those requests to the right financial institution who have specific credit line only for these purposes.
Sure. I want to sort of pick Dr. Acharya. SIDBI has, and Saikat, I'll come back to you. SIDBI has sort of a ventures arm funding, sort of projects or startups. So could any of the tools or instruments under SIDBI Ventures, either directly or indirectly, be a place for budding entrepreneurs to approach to get funding for projects, especially ones that are relevant in current times? Dr. Acharya, are you there? I think we perhaps lost connectivity with Dr. Acharya. We'll try and sort of come back to that. So there are sort of these questions again relating to financing and funding. And there have been some other questions relating to, do I have to pay salaries during lockdown, and some confusion in terms of the directives. I know it's not necessarily related to financing, but it is an important part of how MSMEs are supposed to manage their cash flows. Does any of the panelists want to take the question in terms of how do you sort of keep your operations going? Do you have to pay salaries? What is the position there? Saikat, you wanted to make a point?
Yes, on the funding aspect, actually,
okay, go on.
I was trying to point out on the SIDBI and the NABARD part only.
Okay.
Government has given 15,000 crores to SIDBI and 25,000 crores to NABARD. Now the SIDBI 15,000 crores is a refinance option to the NBFCs. So they are going to give the money to the NBFCs, and NBFCs will do the onward lending to the MSMEs. So the MSMEs who are wanting whether manufacturing or services, they should approach through their normal channels, either the MFIs for the bottom of the pyramid and the self-help groups, or to the NBFCs for availing this limit. The only catch is that NBFCs need to get this money, give this money back to SIDBI within 3 months. The NABARD scheme is also different. The NABARD themselves have come out with a scheme where they will fund for 18 months to the NBFC. So you will get, the businesses will get a little more leeway for returning of the funds. Not only that, out of the 25,000 crores, NABARD is the only institute who is to help the regional rural banks. So depending on which district people are from, the MSMEs, they can approach their regional rural banks with their project finance options, and they can get funding from them. This will be refinanced by NABARD. So there is scope going forward, and enough liquidity has been put in the system. And the governor, RBI governor, very specifically mentioned that this limits were to start with. So if there is demand, there will probably RBI will come out with further refinance options for this. Coming to your salaries and wages questions, it's a very, very pertinent question. I was in another webinar panel and one lawyer mentioned it's a very, very serious issue. I am aware that there are a couple of people who already applied to the Supreme Court and filed public interest litigation. I think Ludhiana Hand Tools Association and one individual MSME from Bengaluru. This has been raised under the Disaster Management Act. So you have to pay. There is no other discussion around that. If it is raised, this, I think section 10(4) or something like that, under Disaster Management Act. So when you have invoked this, that you have to pay and salaries and no job cuts, under the Disaster Management Act, guidelines are very clear. MSMEs have to pay. Now, this is a bone of contention. I mean, if the MSMEs, we are seeing the AA and the AAA corporates asking for 3-month moratorium. So to expect the MSMEs to be able to pay without any wage subsidy will be a challenge. So is the government planning to take legal action against the MSMEs who are unable to pay? I'm not even going to willingness. They are just unable to pay. That's a very, very gray area as of.
So I think, I mean, I'll take it from a different perspective. That one is the regulatory aspect that, yeah, you have to pay. There is a Disaster Management Act. But I think, employees are our sort of biggest asset. So, we have to figure out ways to pay our employees. And if we need to seek additional financing to pay our employees, we must. And I think anything that hurts employees should be absolutely last resort, which I'm sure sort of everybody understands. I think there was a question regarding the NSE exchange, Rachna. I don't know if you've been tracking the chat.
Yeah, I've been tracking, right.
So there has been a question put up saying,
I'll just sum up. I've seen 3-4 questions pertaining to that. So I'll just give a detail. One, I think was more about, what is this profitability track record that NSE is expecting to fulfill as an eligibility criteria. So here we are very clear the profitability is not the net profits, it is at the cash profits. So net profit minus your depreciation. We understand that most of the SME companies in the manufacturing segment would be heavy on assets and they would have a significant outflow in terms of depreciation. So in view of that, we understand that, and hence the profit requirement is kept at cash profits level and not at the net profit level. The second thing is, so can come out with an IPO and raise funds. It's a platform which needs a lot of preparedness on the company level, as well as at the documentation level, and as well as at the readiness at the investor level to invest in some SME company. So this is something that is in the middle term or a long-term solution for any SME company to tap funding through the public markets. Though I would say that we have seen an SME company list within 100 days of the promoter deciding that he wants to go public. So the process can be as fast as 100 days also, and it can take a longer duration as well. But considering that post the lockdown, the immediate concerns I think we've been seeing in the chat is about payment of salaries, about refunds, about GST, about maintaining your inventory levels. So I'm sure that, these are the things that would not be attracting the IPO fund. So I would just want to clarify here, and I would just want that, while the promoters post the lockdown and during the lockdown are considering about re-strategizing their business, about restructuring their capital, about thinking what is an optimum product mix that they need to carry, this is also a thought process which the promoter should involve himself with, about that in the long term, what is my ideal product or an ideal capital mixture it should be, whether I should be a totally debt company or I should be an equity debt mix company, and how should I be better leveraged in taking advantage of such scenarios in the near future. Because I think one thing that we are coming out very, or I think it's very out and open, is that, a heavily leveraged company is going to have a challenging times than a company which is being less leveraged. So considering that, I think it's very important that people understand the equity funding mechanism as well, though I again repeat, it's not an immediate solution to any of the SME entrepreneur problems. But yes, it is a laying foundation stone to see how they can have a sustainable business model and spur the growth of their companies and ensure long-term business sustainability in the times to come, despite a pandemic or any other issues that crop up later.
Thanks, Rachna. That was helpful. I think we are sort of into the last sort of leg of this conversation, so I'm going to try and keep it very, very focused. Ketanji, I mean, there is a question that's there in everybody's mind that why would large corporates come onto the platform, right? What is in it for them? There is, of course, PSUs have to come, but there are also large corporate buyers. So from a large corporate or a PSU perspective, how do they look at it, right? So you have any experience with any large corporates, anybody who's here on the platform who can give their perspective?
Yeah, so the large corporates are very keen now that the crisis has come in. Before the crisis, yes, they had just registered for the sake of compliance. But now post the crisis, we are seeing a lot of queries coming in where they are coming and saying that, look, can we have a chat now on how can we come on the platform? In fact, some corporates and some PSUs have already gone live, and we see that there are transactions picking up because the lockdown is lifted. In the meantime, I have one Mr. Rajappa Rajkumar, who I would like to invite him and talk about his experience. He's the president of the Health Association in Trichy, and I'm requesting him to talk about the experience of BHEL association in Trichy. Trichy is the largest unit of BHEL, so I think you can hear it from him itself. Over to you, Mr. Rajappa. Are you there?
Mr. Rajappa, I've just unmuted you. If you can sort of briefly share in a couple of minutes. We've also been joined by Mr. Ravindra from SBI, so we'll hear the banker's perspective shortly. But Mr. Rajappa, first, quick couple of minutes on how does TReDS help your relationship with your suppliers? You're not audible, Mr. Rajappa.
You're not audible. He needs to be unmuted.
I had unmuted him. Let me try that once again. Can't see him. Can somebody else help me unmute him?
I'm trying to do, but I think I'm unable to unmute.
What you can do is
we'll go back to Mr. Rajappa.
Yeah, we'll go back to Mr. Rajappa later. Probably we can ask Mr. Ravindra to.
Mr. Ravindra, welcome. Given that you represent SBI, there have of course been a lot of questions on financing. Given that everybody is facing and expects to face a liquidity sort of a crisis. From a banker's perspective, one, what is the State Bank of India and other banks doing to help customers deal with cash flow concerns and helping them with their funds? And what would your advice to small businesses, medium businesses be? Mr. Ravindra, please.
Yeah, Pawan, sorry for the late joining.
No problem,
as
please.
you know, I was in the meeting. But I will start with that before the crisis started, we had anticipated that there is going to be a cash flow problem with the companies, particularly related with the expenses, because companies would stop functioning, but their expenses side will continue to be there. They will have to pay their rents, they will have to pay their electricity bills, other fixed charges, salaries, everything. So that part to pay, they need some cash flow, which is not there right now actually. So we had issued a circular instruction, and we had called all our customers in SBI that 10% of whatever limit they are enjoying, they will be given by the bank to cope up with the situation, to take care of their expenses side, to take care of other issues if they have in their working. And afterwards, we were asked by the ministry to give a common line at platform given to all the banks. Same platform has been given to all the banks, and all the banks have come out with this instruction, I suppose. And 10% of the credit line is being given to take care of their finances. Wherever they have
Ravindra, just interrupting.
One thing I'll first finish. Wherever channel financing is there of course, because we were already funding 100% actually invoices.
Sure.
So there the issue was how to fund these companies or businesses, because already we have charged over 100% of their assets. So there also we have drop line overdraft facilities, which they can avail for the purpose of rent or any expenses, salaries, everything. So I think, and then the period has also been extended for these kind of businesses. So suppose they were paying their dues in 60 days. In case of say suppose petrol pumps and other dealers, they were giving their payments in 15 days time. That has been now extended to 75 days. So that kind of relief is already given by the banking sector to the businesses. Yeah, now Pawan.
No, I was just asking regarding this 10% emergency line to meet expenses. So if my current credit line with the bank is 1 crore, I'm getting an additional 10 lakhs line, which is specifically to meet expenses, and there is no further paperwork, there is no collateral necessary for this 10 lakhs?
No, whatever collateral or whatever assets is already charged, because normally banks give the lines after keeping certain amount of margin, which is approximately 15% to 25%, depending on bank to bank and business to business. So that we thought that 10% will already cover our will be covered within the margin. So our charge will be there on the current assets which are already with the company, and whatever collateral they have given, that charge will be extended to that collateral also.
Sure. Ravindra, there is also sort of a perception, and there are some questions that had come in during the registrations, that while the sanctions are happening, but disbursals are not happening, right? And people's perception, right, wrong, I don't know, is that banks have become very conservative in lending. They only want to lend to AAA rated, and specifically with MSMEs, while the sanctions happen but disbursals don't happen. So is this a fact? Is this a myth? What is the reason?
No, it is not a fact, because in MSME sector we don't really have AAA rated companies at smaller or the levels where we are funding and we are talking to these customers. The real problems while not disbursement happening is basically the moment of the customers are restricted actually. And suppose in a firm there are 4 or 5 partners, they are located differently. So to come to a single place to sign the documents, to give the documents to the bank, because bank is a legal entity, and whatever we are giving is public fund actually. So we have to create a legal document also for that. We can not disburse the loan without any document. So there are some states where we are facing stamp duty issues also. There then movement of people is there. Then documentation, registration of document is there in the registrar office. Then there are ROC registration. Then the real issue is coming where multiple banking is there. There are 5-4 banks. Now to come on the platform by 5-4 banks and provide finance by all the banks without NOC. I mean, you have to obtain NOC from each bank before financing the customer. So there we are actually facing a real problem.
So would banks as a community or FICCI be representing to government that there should be some leeway given for digital submission of documents without requiring physical?
Yes. That's what we want. That if in a stamp duty, suppose we are given a leeway, that stamp duty can be paid later on or post facto after the disbursement is made. and bankers are not charged any penalty for that, or even the banks are, we have taken up our corporate center also to devise some way to disburse the loan after taking electronically the documents or guarantees or anything which is required. But government, we will request Vicky to take up for the stamp duty for registrar office charges can be registered later on. So there has to be legal way that this charge which we have not filed with the registrar is still a valid charge actually for the bank.
So Ravindraji, one question again, thinking from a business perspective, all businesses are going to be hit to some degree. Some will have a lot of drop in sales, some will have less of a drop, some will start in May, some will start in June, some will start in July.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So the worry that is there in businesses is that how will banks recalculate the limits? Will my limits get reduced because I'm having less sale and then I don't have money to pay my salaries? Or will banks be considerate in calculating those limits? What can I do as a businessman today, talking to the bank to make sure that I still have reasonable limits when I start some operations in June, July?
See, one advice to the customers or the not customers or all the business entrepreneurs will be to do their homework right now when we are sitting pretty at our homes and we are calculating when the business will reopen. Rather than business reopening and then we are doing our calculation that how much money I will require to run the business, and prepare their CMA data or their holding levels, calculate their holding levels and what kind of business activity level they are envisaging when the business is open actually. And according to that, they have to calculate the fund requirement from the bank. Now, suppose some customer, I mean, it will depend on customer to customer, industry to industry, how they are going to calculate, or their own suppliers or their buyers, how much is available to them for supply, how much are going to buy from them. Looking at that, they will have to prepare their CMA data, they will have to calculate their holding levels. And from the bank's perspective, let me tell you, banks will be very flexible during these times. We are not going to counter customers' claims that this is going to be my holding level and this.
I'll ask in a lighter way because this question has come up that banks are only entertaining their existing customers. So what is the stance of SBI? Do you want to get new customers and offer facilities, or you're happy with the customers that you have?
No. We want to get new customers. Why not? And somebody I just saw that was asking that whether any facility is available without any collateral. Yes, under the government scheme, CGT MSC up to 2 crore, it is available. So you don't require any collateral for those kind of loans. For other loans, it depends on the rating of the basically your finance and your entity with the bank, and then it is decided how much collateral is required. It is not that collateral is a very strictly followed norm actually.
So essentially, I mean, my reading is with all the crisis that we have seen, the world has moved back, right? I mean, I don't want to talk of specific bank names, but we've seen people's faith in banking system go down. And in these times, you know, you have to go back to, you know, tried and trusted names like SBI. I'm not saying it because you are there on the panel, but it's something that I think everybody is coming to realize. Just very quick, Ravindraji, if you can keep it short because we are running towards the end of this panel discussion, but there were questions asked about service sector financing, exporters financing, term loans, project financing. Are there special schemes or thoughts that you have in terms of asking service sector or project finance, businesses to come to SBI? Would you encourage them to come to SBI today with certain sort of plans?
Yes, we are a business. See, we are a business organization. Any business is welcome to us. See, we do our own analysis of the business. Whosoever comes to us, we see his papers, we see his business acumen, we see how he is going to take forward his business. So after seeing all these things, his financials, his projected financials, whether it is term loan, whether it is service sector. Now coming to the export, let me tell you, export we are looking right now because of the COVID, this situation all over the world. It is not India which is affected, entire world is affected. So now we have to look at the exporters, which countries they are exporting, which countries, our country is allowing the movement of the goods and shipments. All those things will come into picture once things start opening. Then only we can take a view on all these sectors actually. But otherwise, looking at the sector or anything, we cannot say that we are not financing or we will not be financing actually.
Sure. Ravindra, thanks. I'll come back to if there's any more question that.
Yes. I am there. Yes.
Just jumping to Ketanji and to Mr. Rajappa. Mr. Rajappa, if you can quickly.
Yeah.
From a.
Yeah. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, if in a short couple.
Yeah. I'm the president of BHEL Small Scale Industries Association. We have around 400 units. In fact, we have got around 300 units registered with the RXIL at the shortest time of 1 month. And in the past 6 months, we did a turnover of 300 crores and saved more than 6 crores. It's a really very good scheme for MSMEs. My request to all MSMEs to get themselves registered with this RXIL platform. And my request to FICCI is to ensure that all the corporates, they should join this platform. Most of the people are, in fact, refusing to join and delaying the issues. We want you to take it up with the government to ensure the enrollment of all the PSUs and corporates in this thing. I got only one point to say. Actually, today to start the unit, all the MSMEs, they need a little fund. That has to be given. Even the COVID-19, it is not being extended to all the people. So I wanted you to kindly take it up with the government to ensure releasing the funds through COVID-19, and also they can give 10% of working capital term loan to meet up the salaries and other commitments. Thank you. And I'd like to record my sincere thanks to RXIL team. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajappa.
It always feels good when we have real examples of how small businesses can benefit. So it's helpful. I think there's some questions in terms of collateral requirements that from a banking perspective, some of the schemes like CGT SME or sort of Mudra schemes, they actually are there, but they're not really working on ground. So I don't know if Dr. Acharya is there, or Mr. Ravindra, you could take the question that when banks look at CGT SME scheme to effectively provide sort of credit guarantee, why is it that certain SMEs benefit from some schemes and certain SMEs don't? So that somebody who doesn't benefit knows the reason, can actually work to be better prepared the next time.
So normally when we discuss with our the functionaries at the ground level, we always say that government guidelines says that up to 2 crore you have to give under CGT MSE. That we are following very strictly, and whenever there is a proposal put up to our committees, there also we say that, okay, if the proposal is up to 2 crore, we can do it under CGT MSE. But sometimes what happens, the financial or the projections or the projected financials are not up to the mark. So to compensate that part, I think branches may be doing that. But individually to say that we are not doing it, it's incorrect. Actually, we are doing a lot of CGT MSE. We have a complete department dedicated to CGT MSE loans. We are doing a lot of Mudra loans also. In fact, our bank has launched e-Mudra facility also up to 1 lakh rupee, which can be taken by applying through mobile app. So bank is doing a lot of work in Mudra actually.
Sure. No, I appreciate, and I think there can be
some sporadic instances.
There can be some individual cases, and I will say, I mean, of course, I mentioned that SBI as an institution stands out, but I think as small businesses, we always have the option, right, to go to multiple banks, right? Sometimes you have a project or an idea that will be understood by one bank, but may not be, as per the policy of another bank. So I think it is for us as entrepreneurs to also make sure that we have 2-3 options available. There are private banks, public sector banks. There are alternative finance mechanisms like NSE, Exchange, Solve.
There is PSB 59 portal also. There also we are getting a lot of requests online also.
Sure. Himanji and Sumitra, are there sort of other questions? Otherwise, I'll sort of like to sort of try and close, with some closing comments. Maybe if there is 1 or 2 questions that remain, I could pick them up, but just try and close in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, Pavan, actually, I would come back to Mr. Ravindra. There was some questions raised on export financing. So I would request Mr. Ravindra to give some highlight on the export financing that the banks or different schemes for supporting exporters is there with the bank. Second area is, again, I come back to service sector, because service sector is one area where we have been receiving that the banks are not coming forward to fund the service sector, as because they do not have any collateral, in the sense that they do not have any they don't have an asset which they can the bank can take charge of. So I know these are just the MSME questions that just props up. Can you highlight some of the things on these areas, please?
No, as far as export is concerned, Government of India, Reserve Bank of India has already extended the period. So that one relief in collection of payment, their export receivables has already been provided by Reserve Bank of India. As far as bank is concerned, we have already said that we have given option to all our branches, all our customers to reassess their requirement. Now, if you are reassessing your requirement, the export finance is also covered under that. So if export financer, he comes back to the bank that they have reassessed their requirement. Now their reassessed requirement is this much, with reduced margin, with reduced period of receivable levels. Bank is going to accept that, because that's a circular by the bank. As far as this reassessment is concerned, it has to be based basically in case of exports. In case of domestic manufacturing, we can do without orders based on whatever assessment company has made. But in case of exports, it has to be strictly based on the orders the company has. So that one thing they will have to remember, that any assessment by exporter has to be based on their orders in their hand. Secondly, as you said, for service sector also, see, bank has no fixed requirement for the collateral for any sector or any specific business. It depends on the risk carried by the business or the company or any firm. And it depends on the rating of that firm in the bank's internal rating mechanism. And as far as if the company is big, then if they have some external rating also. So basically our entire assessment or getting the collateral or requirement of collateral for the companies depends on basically the risk carried by the company and its business actually. So it's not necessary that we will not do a loan with a minimum of collateral also.
Okay. So one more question I would like to raise is on this, restructuring process, where like we had discussed, that the NPA norm has been extended for standardized loans. Now looking forward the COVID scenario, a lot of companies after 180 days would be impacted. So how does bank would assess these people, these companies for further in terms of in future looking at COVID, because COVID has really impacted their credit ratings and their even cash flows. So a lot of things, which parameters that banks or financial institutions consider of rating them or providing further restructuring or things. Is there going to be any change in that, and what SMEs should keep in mind when these things are happening, so that they can prepare themselves for the future?
See, one thing is that as you rightly said, RBI has given 90 days period or extended the period of NPA from the 1st March to June. So that should provide relief to a lot of companies from defaulting on their loans, and that will give them some period also to recoup their cash flows to service the interest and this thing. So I think the companies should be very careful because once this period is over, they will have already, if they were the overdues were there, so they will have those overdues plus 3 months overdues again with them. So they will have to have a lot of cash flows at the time of this period is over. So either they will have to have the cash flows at that time immediately, or they will have to have some operation which can cover this cash flow position. So I think the companies will have to be careful in not servicing this interest during this period. So they should start servicing some interest portion during this period, so that when this period is over, they are very comfortable in paying only 1 or 2 months interest at that time. Now you are asking what is bank's position. See, individually, I can look at customer to customer, how he's doing and what his sector is doing, how industry is doing. But to have an overall view, I think Reserve Bank of India will definitely take a look at the situation. If it doesn't open, say by May end or something, I think definitely government and Reserve Bank of India will look into it, and sector or industry as a whole, some overview will be taken by them.
Right. Right. Yeah, Pavan.
Yeah, so I think we are sort of done with most of the questions. I'm sure there are many more questions, and there are some very specific questions that we may not have been able to answer. So if there are questions relating to specifics, right, relating to Sol, relating to RXIL, relating to NSE, relating to the bank, or, you know, relating to how ratings could help, you know, through FICCI or through directly, I would recommend each of you, people on the panel, the businesses that are represented today, to actually reach out to each of us individually and address those questions. I'm just going to sort of narrate from what I have understood some key takeaways from this session, and if there is anybody else that wants to add in. So the understanding that I get is that we are going through an unprecedented crisis. You know, business is anyway down for the next 3 months. It's like how Dr. Acharya said, we are all on 3-month holiday, as if you know, 3 months were taken away from the calendar. But we have to start thinking in terms of what happens when the lockdown opens, what our cash flows are going to look like. Sit down, discuss with your bankers, and evaluate and be honest about it with your banker, because they will ultimately sort of be your best help. Ideally, stick to your existing banker. If you can chip in, great. Long term, you know, that what are the alternate sources of capital? Is listing on an exchange a good option for you given your state of growth and aspirations? Could you become more digital by going to platforms like Solve and creating a digital trail whereby bankers and financiers can look at you more favorably? You have more digital transactions so that social distancing norms can be followed, again using Could you look at for part of your receivables, right, which may be with PSU banks or with corporates listed on RXIL or similar exchanges? Could you actually register today, and then for next 3, 4, 5 years for the long term actually create a secondary liquidity options? Could you actually look at your own rating by talking to CARE and understanding the components of that rating and making sure that you understand your ratings, you know your ratings at all points of time, and maybe use that rating as an instrument of negotiation and discussion with banks to make sure that you have ideally more than one banker and you have the best of facilities available. So I think we got to hear various different perspectives. It's been sort of fascinating. I've learned a lot from this session. The people have been really patient and calm in listening to us for next 2 hours, for the last 2 hours. But it's really been nice. Hemant, any last sort of comments from you before we try and draw this to close?
Yeah, so I think the only thing what I could request is be positive, and I just think it's just it is a challenge for all of us, and we will come out of it, and we can support each other, be happy, and things will work out.
Sure. So Hemant, thanks for that, and thank you all participants. Again, on that positive note, we will sign off, but it would be proper for me to first thank all the panelists for their time, contribution. Thank all of you participants for businesses spending these 2 hours with us. You know, I can say it from my side. I don't know about other panelists. Maybe they can chip in. I'm putting my email ID on the panel here. In conclusion, at TimePay, we are helping small businesses recover their dues from their customers faster. If you need any help, we'll be you know, very happy to chat with each of you individually. And if you, I'm sure other panelists have been communicating through the panel as well. And you can communicate with them. So we are all here to help. We are all, I mean, one thing that we need to do is really partner with each other, stick closer together and collaborate. So with that, once again, thank you all, and God bless. Take care of yourself, maintain social distancing, and hopefully the lockdown will end with Corona also going away. Yeah.
Thank you.
Signing off, and look forward to hearing from you. I've given
Thank you, Pawan.
Yeah.
Thanks, Hemant, and thanks, Pawan, for this wonderful session. And FICCI, I think a great initiative. And I think a lot of people have requested for contact details of the panelists. So I've just put down mine. But in case you want, you can circulate it to them.
Hemant, maybe if you could collate the Sumitra could collate the sort of contact details and send it to the participants, so there can be some one-on-one communication.
Sure, we will definitely do that. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Pawan, and thank you to all the participants.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Hello. हाँ